In this video, I'm going to show you how you can build an AI agent virtual assistant. It's going to manage your inbox, your schedule, book appointments, prep for meetings, organize travel, fill out long forms, and much more. And at the end of the video, I'm going to put this AI agent head to head against my actual VA, who costs 67 times more, to see which one's best. So let's dive in. So we're going to be building this in Lindy. Lindy is a really easy to use tool for AI automation. And what I'd recommend is starting with the template that I've linked to below. That's kind of the end result of what we're going to build here. And that way you can build along with me. So where there are bits where we need to connect some tools together or add a bit of information, you can kind of do that as we go. Now, rather than starting from scratch, Lindy released this update last week where you can now just tell Lindy what it is you're trying to build and it will have a go building the first version. It's essentially like vibe coding for AI automation. So I'm going to tell Lindy basically what I'm trying to achieve, which is I want it to be a virtual assistant. I've got these 7 types of tasks that I want it to be able to do that I mentioned earlier. And I want it to build a multi-agent workflow, which just means I want lots of different agents with different skills that all work together. And I want one agent to basically kind of take all that information and then that agent to kind of work directly with me. For each type of task, I want to be able to give it some knowledge so that if it's booking a flight, I want it to know what airlines that I prefer to fly with. If it's managing my inbox, I want it to do it in a way that makes sense for how I like to do my email, things like that. Then I want to have a daily summary email where rather than getting emails every time it does a task, I want a daily email that tells me any actions that I need to take and just an overview of what the AI assistant has done that day. So we're just going to hit go and see what it comes back with. Okay, so Lindy's come back with this. So let's just break down what's actually going on here. So this workflow gets triggered when we send a message to this Lindy workflow. Then it's classifying what type of task it is into one of 7 buckets. So is this an inbox management task? Is it travel booking, appointment, etc.? And then depending on what type of task it is, it's then sending it to a different agent. So it looks like it's created 7 different AI agents and it's given each of those agents a different set of skills, a different set of instructions to determine what to do with that. So if we take an example, let's say travel booking. So if the user wants help traveling with travel booking, trains, hotels, flights, etc., go down this path and it's going to send it to this agent who's been given the prompt, handle travel related requests using personal preferences from the knowledge base, etc. So the first thing that's worth saying is I've not written any of this. This has all been automatically populated by the Lindy agent builder. So huge time saver already. Now, this agent has got a couple of skills, which just means it's got the ability to access different tools outside of Lindy, some of them inside Lindy. But in this case, we've got the ability to run Google searches, fire up a computer, or make phone calls. Now, we could go in and add some extra skills if we want, but initially I'm going to just leave that as it is. And as we test this, we'll kind of see like, are there any limitations? Are there any extra skills that we need to give them access to? Now, this is kind of visually a bit odd, but it's got this looks like an error. It looks like it's connected the wrong, the form filling agent to the travel knowledge base. So I'm just going to fix that. So it's kind of interesting to see that in my message to the agent builder, I asked for it to give each of these a knowledge base, and it looks like it's actually only added one knowledge base, which is the travel one. So that's something that we'll go through and change in just a moment. The other thing worth noting if you're building this along with me is that you can see all of these skills have been kind of just added. I use Lindy quite a lot, so I've already gone through the stage of authenticating and connecting all those accounts, so it can just go and kind of just add them. I don't have to do anything. If you're doing this for the first time building Lindy, you'll probably need to go and connect a bunch of accounts at this point. So that's doing that. We've got some steps that have additional steps to them. So appointments, for example, it's then ending by making a call. Research documents, it's saying create a research Google Doc. And what have we got over here? So, okay, so this is our like daily reporting. So every day at 4 p.m, it's going to go and get a bunch of tasks. So the last 50 tasks, it's going to decide if they were done today or not, and if they're worth being summarized, and then it's going to send me an email with a kind of daily summary of what's been done and any actions that I need to do. So perfect, that's exactly what I asked for. In practice, we might see this as actually like massively overkill, and we might need to change this prompt or tweak it. I think also I'd like the ability to, like, if a task is urgent and requires me to take immediate action, I kind of don't want to wait till 4 p.m. So we might tidy this up, add a little bit more functionality later, but for now, that's pretty much exactly what I've asked for. So the first thing we're going to do is add a bit of knowledge to each of these agents, because at the moment they've essentially just been given a prompt. This is almost only slightly better than me going to ChatGPT with my question, because yes, they've got access to tools, so they can go and kind of see my calendar, see my inbox, but it doesn't really have any real context about what it is I want. And when I'm working with my actual VA, I onboard her and I give her lots of information about, like, if we're booking a Christmas party, where do we typically like to go, and all the kind of instructions. So I want to give those same instructions to this virtual AI assistant, so it's kind of a fair test, but also so that it comes back with some decent responses. So I'm going to go ahead and just connect. For each of these, we're going to just go and not perform an action. That's not what I want. We are going to add a knowledge base. So search knowledge base, and you'll see that you can add knowledge in a variety of different ways. The quick and easy way is you can just copy and paste a bunch of text and be done with it. Slightly better version would be if you've got a company knowledge base or anywhere where you store kind of all this information, somewhere like Notion or in a Google Drive, you can just connect that and then sync up all your files. Or you can just connect it to a company website. The more information you give it, the better it's going to be. So I'm going to choose a bit of a variety here. So for things like team coordination, I'm going to connect it to our company Notion account, because we've got lots of information in there about kind of who the team are, what our kind of company policies are. So I'm just going to connect that. Let's go add some pages. And in this case, I think I'm just going to basically sync the entire company knowledge base. Just give it all the information it needs. So we'll select all, add, and then that's just going to sync and do its thing in the background. Okay, so I'm going to go here and just give this the skill of searching that knowledge base. Cool. So this agent can now go ahead and use this. Perfect. So we'll need to give these some conditions that will prompt them to actually go and use that knowledge base, but we'll just leave that there for now. Form filling, that's going to get, the more information I give that about the company, the better that's going to get. So I'm going to give that a variety. I'm going to start by giving it our company website. That's kind of just a bit of a catch-all, because it's then going to be able to get things like our, I misspelled it. That's going to be able to get things like our VAT number, like any content we've ever added to the website, it's going to be able to pick all that up. So let's grab that. I'll add again the company Notion, and yeah, let's do that. We'll give that the skill of searching that knowledge base. Search knowledge base. So I'm going to go ahead and just add a bunch more knowledge, and then we'll come back in a moment to look at the next steps. So I've gone ahead and given all the agents a decent amount of knowledge. We're probably going to need to fine tune this when we start testing it, but at least it's giving it something that it can work with. So it knows, for example, what taxi companies we like to use, preferred airlines when booking travel. When filling out forms, I've given it access to our company's house page, our website. If it's a research task, I've given it some specific things like how to organize a Christmas party, which is a task that we give our VA. And then for the team coordination, I've just given it access to 337 pages in our Notion account. So hopefully this will mean that we get better results. And as I say, really this is just, I've just basically given access to what we would give a VA access to anyway. So before we get too much further, what I'm going to do is just do a really simple test just to see if there's anything kind of glaring or basic that this is not doing right. So up in the right corner here, I'm just going to go to test, and I'm just going to send it let's give it a task to go and research 10 freelance UX designers in London. So can you research me a list of 10 freelance UX UI designers in London and give me a link to their portfolios and information to arrange calls. Cool. So let's just see what comes back. I'm not sure if this will highlight any kind of major issues or if this will actually just work. Okay, so I can see that it's classified the task correctly as a research task and it's gone ahead and created a research document, but it's not really come back and confirmed that it's done the task. It's sort of just created that document and then done nothing with it. So I think one thing that we need to add to this is some kind of confirmation step. I know over here we've got this daily summary, but it's kind of weird if I now have to wait until 4 o'clock to get a summary email saying it's done it. Kind of want that to be instant. So I'm going to add a step which basically means that once a task is done, the agent tells me or sends me the document for me to do something with. So to do that, I'm going to initially just see if I can just tell Lindy to do that and if it does it correctly. Okay, I've written a prompt, we're going to hit go, and basically I've just said when a task is done, I kind of want an instant notification that it's done. So it understands. It's going to go ahead, hopefully, append it. Okay, so it looks like what it's doing here is rather than doing something kind of holistic that will work across all of these, it's just added a step just on the create research document to say notify that document is ready. So I might tweak that a little bit just so it works across all of these different things. Okay, so let's give that another test. We'll go here and say, can you find me 10 interior designers in Manchester? Give me a link to the portfolio or website. So hopefully this time it kind of goes through the same thing, but then afterwards I'm hoping that we get a message from the agents with a link to that Google Doc. Okay, interesting. So this time it's actually running a Google search. Last time we didn't have that. So the agent has decided, okay, so something, okie dokie. So it's classified it correctly. It's done some research. It's gone to Google. It's found the interior designers, but it's messaging me. Okay, no, it is creating a Google Doc. I thought it was going to just share the results in the chat, which is not really what I've asked for, but it is creating a document. Now the real test is going to be if it now messages me to say, here's a link to the document, or if it's just going to do what it did last time and just sort of say like, I've created a document, but not tell me about it. So let's see. So it's done. Here we go. Cool. Research complete. Created your research document. It's ready to review. So this could be tidied up a little bit, but if I click this, it's done it. So obviously that's a pretty basic task, but it's done exactly what I wanted, and yeah, not bad as a starting point. So I'm going to just test a few more different things, just try and see if we can find areas where this is breaking or not quite giving us the response or the output that we'd want, and then I can just kind of go through and make a couple of tweaks. So the next thing I'm going to do is try and get it to book some travel. This is going to be a relatively hard one because there's quite a lot of nuance involved. So let me give it let's do a fairly realistic task. So let's say my designer is coming up to the office next week. Can you find train times and a suitable available Airbnb from Wednesday to Friday? So I've been a bit deliberately vague with a few parts of this message just to see if it's going to use the knowledge base correctly, because things like saying our office, it should be able to get that information from the Notion account. But there's a few kind of red herrings there because it might think that our registered office is our trading office. So I'm kind of curious just to see if this trips the agent up or if it actually gets it right. In theory, all the information is there. Okay, so it's come back with a few more questions. It has correctly worked out that the office is in Oxford and it knows the designer is coming from Exeter, so that's pretty cool. But it's asked me a few questions which, frankly, if this were an actual VA, I think they would just like read between the lines. So they've said trains run frequently throughout the day. Basically, they're telling me pick a train time. So lunchtime. Yeah, fine. So a few more steps than ideally we would like, but let's see what this does. I think this is also the kind of thing that we can just add this information to the knowledge base and say, like, don't worry about train times, just pick one that makes sense. We can tweak the prompts to make this a little bit better. Okay. Okay, it's come back saying, do I want to book the train and get a link to an Airbnb? So I'm gonna say, don't book it just yet, but give me a link to book it. And yes, send me a link to the Airbnb. So let's see. Okay, so it's saying for train booking, so Trainline, this is really good. In the knowledge base, I specifically gave it instructions to send me a link to Trainline because that's what we use for the company bookings. So that's really good, and I can see that it is actually a link to Trainline. The only downside I say is it's just given me a generic link from like Exeter to Oxford. It's not told me, yeah, it said there's a 10 a.m. departure, but like I could have, like that's not that helpful. So Airbnb, it's given me, again, it's kind of done the same thing. It's basically said like there are lots of apartments available. So I think that one we could probably hopefully improve the prompt and maybe give this travel agent the ability to fire up a computer and go to Airbnb, scrape, and then try and find the best place. Because this isn't very helpful. I could just like go to Airbnb Oxford and see this. So I'm gonna make a few tweaks to that. I'm not gonna do it in this video, but I will include those changes in the template below. But all in all, that's not bad. I think we just need to refine the prompts and the knowledge a little bit. So before we put this head to head against my actual VA, I'm gonna go through and do a bit more testing, a bit more tweaking to make sure the responses are as good as they possibly can be. I'm not gonna do it in this video because it's probably gonna take me the next 2-3 hours, but what I thought I would do is quickly show you how you can modify this to make it more functional for the kind of tasks that you wanted to do. I've given it 7 different abilities based on 7 things that I often give my VA, but you might want to give it different skills and a different set of tasks. So let's say, for example, you want this to be able to raise invoices and manage your accounting software. What you could do is right-click, add an agent step, and let's say you're my financial controller. I want you to manage, raise, chase, and reconcile invoices and payments in my accounting software. Cool. So we'll give it that prompt. Again, obviously this is the kind of thing where you probably want to spend a bit more time with these prompts and make sure that they're as good as they can, but just for illustration's sake, we'll give it that. Let's give it access to our accounting software. So you would go through and then add each of these that are relevant as skills. So I might give it the skill of emailing an invoice, and let's say, what's a good one? Get invoice. So it can now see invoices. It can send an email out to customers. In reality, we probably need to give it dozens more. Also, maybe let's give it ability. If we wanted to make this really punchy, we could give it access to a computer and allow it to make payments on our behalf, or we could do something like Stripe potentially. So we can give it the actions, all the skills that it needs to do its thing. Then, as we did before, you can give it knowledge if that's going to be helpful, maybe a list of active customers. You can get it to talk to your CRM, other tools. But essentially, then all we need to do is then add a new pathway. So go down this path if this is relating to accounting or payments. And we're going to connect our agent to that. There we go. Right, so we'll connect that to that. And now, in theory, if we were to give it all the skills that it needs, now when we message our VA and say, can you send an invoice to this customer, it should correctly classify it as that, to send it to that agent, and then that agent can then process it as we'd expect. Again, with each of these agents, you're going to want to send it a couple of tests. You're going to want to make sure it's giving you the right behavior you expect, but in principle, that's exactly how you could expand over time the tasks and the kind of things that your AI VA is able to do. So with that said, in this next video, I'm going to put this to the test and see how this $49 AI assistant compares against my actual VA who I've paid over $38,000 to see how it compares in each of the 7 areas. So I'll see you in the next video.